Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I was running a few minutes late trying to do many things this morning. I guess I relaxed yesterday, come it being Mother's Day. That meant I wasn't supposed to do anything, so I kind of put a few things off into this morning and it set me back about 5 minutes, but I apologize for that. I do. I'm hoping those of you who might be coming into this space have had a wonderful day. Good morning, Lavender. I hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day if you are a mother. And sometimes you don't have to be the birth of children to still know that you're a mother to someone else's child. And that's wonderful. That is giving forward. That is above self. That is honest love, that is kindness, that is joy, that is certainly acceptance. So I absolutely love all of that. But anyway, for mothers, if you had a wonderful day yesterday, when you come into the space, put it in there that my day went well. I had a good time. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning. Even if you're just passing through, it's wonderful that you're stopping by. Today, we're going to ask the question, are you stuck? We know. A lot of us are stuck. We're stuck for quarantine. We might be stuck in our careers, in our love life, in our family life. There's some things that sometimes just get us stuck, and we need to pay attention to it because it is what it is. We cannot sometimes change other people, but we can certainly look at changing ourselves. How do we do that? We must start at the core of who we are. And so today our discussion is going to be on goals. I'm going to give people a few minutes to come on in because I know some people told me that they were going to tune in this morning and they haven't quite checked in yet. But I'm going to keep on talking about the earnestness of self. Who are we? How can we get down to the core of who we are, what we want to do, where we want to be? We have to make a good what I would call certainly a good run at it every day of not letting ourselves being consumed by all the things that could be just enveloping who we are, where we're going, what we want to be, what we want to do. That it will do that to us. It will do it all the time. And so we have to make our decisions that what we stand on is what we stand on. And so today we're going to talk about goals. And I always was a person, even as a child, I always loved goals. I always, anticipated, are we there yet? My parents used to absolutely get ticked off because I asked it not one time, but I probably asked it 50 times because we lived in New York and our family, some of our family lived in Detroit, Michigan, and my father loved to drive, my dad was a man in his machine. So we would drive to New York and I mean from New York to Detroit, Michigan and we would just say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? My father said, you asked that one more time. But I was just in anticipation. I didn't have an anxiousness for it as I identified. It's just that I wanted to see what the end was gonna be. Well, what the end of our travel from one place to the other place was gonna be, who was gonna be there, what we were gonna do, of course, what we were gonna eat, and all of that. Who was going to be happy to see us. There was always some joy in that to me. And I worked on it, and I worked on my mother and father's nerves on the way. And my brothers and sisters be in the back seat kicking me, talking, don't ask that no more. We're going to get a spanking. Don't ask that no more. But that's just the kind of person that I am. Always setting goals, always looking at what's next. And that is my question to you this morning. So I always have a poem for you or a song or something. And so today's poem doesn't have a name, but it's by Rupi Kaur. And it says, I do not want to have you to fill the empty parts of me. I want to be full on my own. I want to be so complete I could light a whole city. And then I want to have the cause the two of us combined could set it on fire. Isn't that good? The fact that you could think that by myself, good morning, Tisha, Trisha, uh, could you imagine by yourself you could set things on tilt. But with somebody else, if you're standing up straight, they're standing up straight, then you got a good line for a good goal. You got a good charge. You got a good opportunity. But a lot of times we lay down on waiting for somebody else to take charge. I don't want anybody else to take charge of me. That's where I'm trying to get you to. Those who come into my space, I'm always talking about, are you stuck? Yes, you're stuck. We're all stuck. But we can get off being stuck. And we're going to get stuck on something else. Don't think that there's this stuck. This sticking over here is going to be the only stuck you'll come in. You're going to encounter many times where you will get stuck on people, on places, on positions, on power, on perceived, on not real stuff. But guess what? You work on that, get that out the way as a goal, then you work on something else. So anyway, that's our poem for today. And today, once again, even though the Lord had given me something the other day to speak on, and I didn't speak on that, I spoke on mother on Friday. So here I am. Woke up this morning, said, oh, my lesson's already done. No, it wasn't. I couldn't leave this alone. It was goals. How did I come up with goals? And so, you know how I do. What I do is break it down. I break it down. Good morning, Valda. What I do is I break it down. What would goals mean to me? And so it just came to me what words I was dealing with. So today, hope you have your pen and paper, or a pencil and paper, or a book, whatever you need. But we're going to try this. Its first one talks about, the first letter is G. And this G is used as gravity. And I would always say in gravity. In the physics sense, it talks about, it's a natural form that causes things to sort of fall to the earth. They're coming. That's gravity. That's the way we probably understand gravity. But if we're talking about ourselves and using it as a noun, it's someone who conducts themselves with an air of gravity. They're serious. It says these people that have gravity, they are basic, grounded in their seriousness. All right. Can you ask the question? Are we the people that have gravity? We know what it is for ourselves, or are we free floaters? Where we float through life just based on other people's, pull, other people's pull towards them instead of not pulling towards ourselves. That could be that we've given up our will or our understanding of what gravity could do for us. But that's our first word for today, gravity. The next word is organize. I like organization. I really do. And it talks about a systematic approach to placing things in order for you, so that, especially on a large scale, so if you have a big event, and you have to have certain things at the big event. You need music, you need a location, you need how people are going to come in, who will greet them, will they be assigned tables, all the kind. That would be organization. And so it talks about how organizations come together. Do they come together based on political association? Do they come together based on labor, like organized labor or organized crime? Those are all basically people who decided that they had to look at this according to making almost like a schemata, where they made it where it all had a hierarchy, it had an order, it had a way of going forward. And how did they do that? They did that based on coming up with an organized plan, a plot, something that made it work for a large number of people that it would be affected by, or was geared towards. Because I feel like advertisement, we're all in our own homes, but yet and still we see that McDonald's commercial, or we see pizza, or we see the latest greatest thing for makeup, or it could be for men, it's a new shaver, whatever. It doesn't matter. They have organized how they're going to address us as a collective body, even though we may be separated like we are now. And if you notice, the TV is doing a wonderful job of keeping us company if we turn it on. And so the job that it's doing has placed us in a position of, wow, I certainly would long for that. And, basically there's an organized approach to getting your attention, And what I'm asking you, what do we look at for our own organization? Are we organized? Do we have stuff everywhere and we cannot put together even a complete sentence, or we can't put together, a meal or whatever because we eat out all the time? Or even some people have not missed not eating out, even though there weren't any. Well, they're just opening back up many of the restaurants to having limited seating. But what my point is that being organized is an approach that really would get you someplace, because it's getting, folks that have been in the business of organizing how we think, how we eat, how we dress, all those things. Those are organized concepts that we've adjusted to, we've adapted to them, and we use them. Okay. Next thing is angles. And when I remember doing geometry in school, and I was always afraid of regular math, but for some reason geometry was just interesting to me. And in geometry, it talks about an angle. That's the G and the O. Now we're on the A. The angle. An angle is a figure formed by two rays called the sides of the angle sharing a common point, which is like the vortex, the vertex, excuse me. But I always thought that was really interesting to me, that you would have things that meet someplace else and it forms this angle. And so for me, that was interesting. But then to simplify it, I just said, it's basically a shape formed by two lines or rays that diverge. So for us, how are we angled? Do we have our angles crossed? Or are we angled in a position of knowing what we're doing, how to get there? So that's how I'm making it, where it's more simplified. Not the technical aspect of what geometry says, but for ourselves, what is our angle? How are we positioned? Okay. The next word I have is leverage. And once again, this is the GOA and this is the L. Leverage is the extension of force by means of a lever, on a lever on the object used in the manner, such as if in fact, I was looking at this, if you were, say you're out in your garden and you take your shovel and you hit it in such a way that the earth underneath it doesn't move, because you've probably hit something else. Maybe you've hit rock, or stone, or wood, or the roots of a tree, but you're not all the way down into the dirt, which is you're trying to get to. So that was saying that your leverage is off. It didn't move by the way you went in. So you'd have to readjust it. So that's the way we're using it. It says like if you used a spade or you used a shovel, anything like that, they're just trying to move something, and it doesn't move because the angle is off, the leverage is off, and for some reason when I'm putting all this stuff together, it all comes out. I don't understand that. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that right now, but I know God just kind of gives it to me, that I'm talking about gravity and organization and angles and leverage. And the last one, it says, well, it says if you use it as a verb, it's something to maximize an advantage. So you're using something to get someplace else. That's your leverage. Meaning that if you were in business and you had a poor business plan and your money wasn't coming in right, and so someone's going to tell you what the angle's wrong, the leverage is wrong, you really had to readdress this. You have to be more organized. You have to make it more centered on how you're approaching this particular, way forward. And so that would be what is your leverage? How are you looking at things and making it where it works for you, for your organization. And the last word, of course, here I go again, scale. and it says scale, and we look at scales in a couple of ways. But the first way I always was with the fish or reptile having the scales of the skin that overlapped. And so that's where I'm jumping off from, the fact that we want to look at it in another way, which talks about for us, it's distinctive relative, it's the relativeness of size, the scale of something, the weight of something, that's the portion of scale I want to look at. Because if you decide that you want to get on a scale, it's a measurement in that instance, where you're getting on a scale to weigh you, or the meat that you purchase, or cheese, or at the deli, and all those kinds of things. They use scales, and that's basically what this talks to. Also, is looking at the scale of us. What is our weight? What is our weight and our worth in terms of things that we're doing, things that we're going to address, things we're trying to get done. That would be the scale of our completeness. And even for myself, this weekend I was speaking to a friend of mine, and I did tell her I was going to work all weekend, and I was doing it in my form of what was my measurement over the weekend. How organized was I? Was I going to address this thing to make it where it was my gravity? I was pulling it into me. I was making it my own. Good morning, Jean. I was making it my own, and sometimes we don't always know how to pull things back to us, because we let them go, haywire. We let them get too far out. It was ragweed. It was all over the place. It was like something was blowing in the wind. We saw it, but we couldn't catch it. And what I'm saying to you is, that's what my Are You Stuck is all about. Catching up with whatever you let go of. Whatever you gave up. Be it, who you are, what you're all about, where you want to go, how you need to get there. And so those are pretty much the areas that I wanted to really look at today. And going back, we talk about gravity, being organized, having an angle, looking at the leverage that we have, and of course the scale of us, the weight of what it is that we do. And we don't always pay attention to these things, because we've given them up. We've given them up. We can't give up. We can't afford to give up anything, because no matter what, we're going to live. And this sounds like somebody else said this thing the other day. We're going to live until our days are gone. And when our days are gone, I want somebody to look back over my life and said, well, she didn't just do anything for herself, she did for others. To me, that is service above self. I'm looking at what is beyond who I am, as an individual, trying to figure it out for myself, and then putting the information out there in the airways for other people to help them figure it out for themselves. Because nobody else can walk in your shoes but you. So here's my questions for today. And I'm going to go back over this for those who might have stepped into this sandy space of Are You Stuck late. We certainly welcome you. And here's the question. The first question is, how serious are you about what you're doing? That is your gravity. What is your gravity? Once again, gravity is, what's pulling back to your center. I'm not meaning you're not giving it up. We're not talking about it as if it were, the gravity of things falling to the earth in a scientific sense. No. Come on back. I want to know, what is your gravity? What are you doing? Are you serious about it? That would be your gravity. Are you serious? Are you serious about what you're doing? And if not, why? That's a question. If not, why? Because, once again, our days are numbered, And by the way, when you come into the space, I thank you for scrolling. I thank you for stopping. Please stay, but during your stay, would you hit share? That would certainly help my numbers. And then you also have my YouTube channel, which I put in my post. I'm having a good time with this, and I'm hoping you're enjoying it too. Question number 2 is, how organized are you with large things, such as the challenges in your basement? Okay. Are you still at the door on the way down to the basement? Are you on the steps coming back up from the basement? You've cleaned some things down in the basement. Where are you? Are you organized? Because, we can go downstairs into our stuff and get stuck. We can't even get up out of there because there's too many things, you know, too many things. And I think this has been a time for a lot of people during quarantine to really go through their stuff, because normally our lives are just so busy. We have so many things to do, so many people, so many, people to see, places to go, things to do. And so we don't always pay attention to what we already have. Good morning, my nephew Lawson. So it ends up that we are just having more than necessary. And I think last week I talked about simple abundance. It's an oxymoron statement, I know. But if you have something simple, they claim that you have more. They also call them minimalists. And a minimalist, a serious minimalist, okay, they understand their gravity. They understand the fact that they aren't interested in having a whole bunch of stuff piled up and a whole lot of requirements in terms of the world. They're really looking at scaling down, making it manageable, having more time to just live, having time to love, having time to be. That's what they're looking at. So the next area, the question that I have to you, do you know your angle? Your angle is going to be your end point. Your angle is how you're coming into things. Good morning, Triple L. How are you looking at, you're situated with your family, with your love relationships, with your friendships, with you-ship, which is what I'm trying to get people back down to, or even career, career, all those things pretty much sum up what it is that we're looking at, where it is we want to go, how we're going to go about getting there. So what is your end point? Do you know it? Do you know the angle that you're positioned? Are you up in the air? Are you leaning to the left? Are you leaning to the right? Are you just sitting down doing nothing? So I'm asking that question. The next question, it says, are you in the right area for finding leverage? Remember, leverage was when you might be digging for something with a spade or a shovel of some sort, and you're digging and you hit that piece of dirt that won't move because it's too hard and has concrete in it, or it's the root of a tree, or it's something that makes it unmovable. So I'm saying, are you hitting that? And if you are, how do you go about changing those things? That means you're probably going to have to move to another area and finding an area, even though that area is tough right now, that you might have to go around to the other side in order to get a better angle for that area you're trying to dig up. And that's us. We sometimes we're not on the right side of what we need to deal with, but we do need to be dealt with. We do. Okay. And the last question is scales. It looks at the scales. Can you remove the scales that are overlapping on you? Can you remove them? Because they're there. They're there. Because some things are so covered up, we don't even know what's under them anymore. Are you stuck? We're all stuck. And it's so true. It's so true. Good morning, Cassandra. So we end up having all these things over us, all of them, everywhere. And we don't know what to do with them because it's just too much. It's too much. It's too much stuff in the house. It's too much stuff in our brain. It's too much stuff in terms of commitment. It's too much. So what I'm saying to you is, can you roll back some of that? Can you look at it? Can you examine it? And so that's why I say, and so then you're going to think about the physical weight of stuff, or the mental weight of stuff, or the emotional weight of stuff. All those things are weights. They all pull us down. Everything. Things, people, crazy stuff in our head pull us down. What I'm saying is, come on up out of there. Get out. First of all, you have to identify it. that it's too weighty for you. It's too much for you. You don't need it. You don't want it. You know, that's it. That's it. And sometimes it's very difficult for us to be. Good morning, Miss Carla. Uh, Sometimes you don't even know that you have all this stuff in you. But the wonderful thing about, I say, assessment is that you can do a serious assessment on yourself and come up with a different plan going forward if you're really serious. So seriousness, being serious, being organized, really looking at how you're positioned, your angle, understanding the leverage you're on. If you're tilted, understand you're tilted. Get right. I think last week I said, what my mother used to always tell us, every tub has to sit on its own bottom. So what's the bottom it's standing on? You know, is the floor weak? Because sometimes the foundation we're standing on is weak. And if we can't get to a flat surface where we're really standing straight, then we're already at a problem. We're already addressing a problem. But some people don't realize that they're leaning because they think everything that's there is supposed to be there. And I said, probably not. All of us probably could do with a tune-up, being serious about what we want and getting rid of what we don't want and don't need. Once again, it's don't need, because sometimes we do not need what we have. It's just too much for us. So anyway, those are my questions for today. I'm going to go back over them for those who might have come into the room a little late, the space. And, today was about goals, And as I said, I had something else planned, and for some reason or another, I awakened to, oh no, you're not doing that. Today it's going to be goals, and you're going to break it down. But anyway, here's the poem, and it was by Rupi Kaur. It says, I do not want to have you to fill the empty parts of me. I want to be full on my own. Can you imagine? Fullness on your own. I want to be so complete I could light a whole city. And then I want to have you cause the two of us combined could set it on fire. Can you imagine? If you're on fire and they're on fire because you're straight, you're organized, your, leverage is right for you, not for them. So that's our poem for today. And then, of course, we dealt with the whole concept of goals, looking at, gravity, not in the physical sense of looking at what it says naturally of things falling to the earth. I want the gravity of this to fall to you. And that means you have to be serious. How serious are you about who you are, what you're doing? To me, it makes sense that you would have your own gravity. You'd have your own seriousness about who you are. Like, I can't tell you how to be, but I certainly can tell you that if you have your own, you can tell me how you are. Same thing with me. I can tell you how I am. I can. Next word is organize. And this is to organize, to arrange systematically in a way, especially on a large scale. And I look around, and if you have to do your house, and it's so much stuff in it, that would be large scale. But then you might be heading up a business or a program, or, a summer initiative for young children, running daycare, whatever. All of those are organized, and systematically you have to make sure that there's a process that people get to understand, to know how your business works or how you operate, or how they know that don't come in here at 9:02 and you should have been in here at 8:57. And that means that they understand you. You're organized. You're going to start on time. Okay. The next thing is angles, of course, and the geometry just talks about these two rays coming together, And so in this point, I'm just talking about your endpoint, which is called your vertex. How are you situated? You. I didn't ask about anybody else, but how are you situated? What things might not go together anymore. Certain decisions that you made in the past don't work anymore for you now. That would be your angle. You have a new angle on something. And you may have several angles and not just one. You may have an angle on this and an angle on that. And it says a way, it's a shape formed by two lines or rays. So what two things come together, still work together, or do you need to put them together to make them work for you? That would be your angles. Okay, good morning, Ashley, my niece. Hey, baby. And babies, your little babies. Anyway, good morning. Sorry. The next thing is leverage. Look at your leverage. How are you, positioned? It says leverage is the exertion of force by means such as when you go down and you're reaching down to try something new and you hit a problem. That doesn't mean you give up on it. That means you need to get a new position and get a new leverage. And it might be that you're working in the garden, or you have a business and something went wrong, and they tell you, you have to come at this, you have to leverage something in order to get something else, a different, plan of action. That's what your leverage in this instance going to be. So I'm talking about what are you going to change personally that gets you forward. And the last one is, of course, would be scale. And it talks about the scales we talk about are like the scales. When we think of scales, there's two kinds of scales we can look at. We can look at the scale, and there's probably more, but we're going to concentrate on the two that made sense to me. The scales of like a fish or reptile where they overlap. The scales on the skin of a reptile. And the other scale of course, would be the scale in terms of weight. Like your lunch meats, you go buy a hamburger, whatever. They use those scales. Or you get on the scale physically to weigh yourself. All those are scales. But basically it all comes down to one thing. What is the weight of something? Do you know the weight of things that's playing in your life? How are they playing? What are they playing to? Do they have you angry, depressed, frustrated, disjointed, distracted? Where are you? So you should know what your scales are. What's overlapping and you're somewhat consumed by it. I remember when we were little, and I know they're still around. We used to have the Cracker Jacks box, and I hated Cracker Jacks, but yet and still, I needed to get down to the bottom to find out what the prize was going to be. And I remember my mother saying, "I ain't buying you those Cracker Jacks unless you're going to eat them." Child, I hated them, and I would put them in my mouth. And when she wasn't looking, I put them in a napkin. I just wanted the bottom. Good morning, Polly. I just wanted the bottom. I wanted to get to the bottom so I could see what the prize was. Can you imagine this for yourself? Can you imagine that if you get down to, removing this scale and that scale, removing this and that, and removing people and places and all kinds of stuff and commitments and being able to say no. Can you imagine your bottom? Child, you might say, what in the world? Am I not a shiny new penny? Or you may want to move it up. Good morning, T. You may want to move it up to I'm a wonderful silver dollar. I'm a gold piece. I'm a brick of gold. I did not know this. And a lot of times we don't know who we are because we've layered ourselves. We're scaled. We have so many layers, so many things on top of us that we never really see the true us, and that's why I asked the question, are you stuck? We're all stuck. We are definitely all stuck. And the thing about it is being stuck is temporary unless you make it a permanent. And some people do. Some people never move out of their house, out of one house they're in. In fact, I've been in here, I ain't gonna tell y'all. But I hope one day, I'm making plans to be organized, to have the gravity come back down to myself. Once again, I'm using the stuff I'm telling you about to know my angle, to understand my leverage, which might in that instance be my money. And of course, to understand the weight it's going to bring upon me. I'm looking at all these. Yes, triple L's, the scales over their eyes. When they remove the scales, guess what? You see. So we're all stuck. We're all in a position of not being on top of everything that we could be on top of, or getting to the bottom where everything that we need to get off and under us is gone. Can you imagine truly sitting on the bottom? In fact, sometimes I watch that show Hoarders, and you see where the people walking in are walking in, to help out this person that is obviously stuck on top of debris that they just allowed to collect on their floors, on their furniture, in their sink. And there's no place else to sit or stand or even walk, so they walk on top of it. That means, yes, they're stuck. Yes, there's a lot going on, but life says that if you want to live life, you have to be a part of what life would be, to be better, to be more wholesome, to be more realistically lovely. Can you imagine? I mean, I could not imagine myself living like that. I just couldn't. But I understand, the fact that we have to set goals. We have to. And so the last I'm going to do is the actual questions themselves. First question, pencil and paper, please. How serious are you about doing you and what you're doing? What is your gravity? What is your seriousness? It's to me, I keep touching myself because it's a me thing. I can't answer that for anybody else, but I know it's me. How serious are you, about yourself? What is the gravity in that? Instead of pulling to the earth, pull it to yourself. Pull it in. What is it? How can you go back and readdress it and recapture it? Because at one time we all had it. Then the second question is, how organized are you with large things that are in your basement? What's down there? And have you been down there? Have you rummaged through it? Have you left some stuff behind and you're on your way back up your steps? Where are you? So how organized are you? The third question, do you know your angle? How you're planted? Are you, that's looking at your endpoint. So how are you with your love life? How are you with your family life, your career life, with your life? Just your personal time with yourself. Do you take time to read, to write? And I'm not talking about you have to be an author, but guess what? There's many of you who probably are authors and just never authored anything. There's many of you who are probably singers and just never sung anything. There's many of us that have so many talents, which talks once again about multiple intelligences, is that we don't just have to be, college bound. We can be just, what I say, you bound. The fact that you have all these gifts because you've never tapped into them, you don't know. You may be an artist. You don't know. Never tried it. There's so many things that you could be doing. You could be maybe teaching dance. No, it doesn't have to be, classical or ballet or something. It could be modern. It could be, the urban dances that they're teaching now. Any of those. It's something. The next thing it talks about is, are you in the right area for finding your leverage? What is your leverage? Where is it? How do you find it? If it's all in the ground and you've never really dug up anything, then guess what? Get to digging. If it's all in your head and you never put it down on paper, but you have something to say, get to it. If it's all in your voice, but you never sung in front of everybody, try it. Try it here. Try it in your space. And the last one says your scales. What's layering you? What's up over you? Good morning, Vanessa. What's over you? What is you covered up? You got layers and layers and layers of things on you. And you don't know the real center of you. So I'm telling you, go back down to the gravity of you. Find out, be serious about getting down to taking off all the scales, removing some things that you no longer need, and that can be people, it could be places, it could be perceived power, because sometimes we have to tell ourselves that we're powerless, you know, but we're also powerful. We're powerful when we stay within our range, you know. Being powerful over others is short-lived because eventually there's an uprising, you know. Eventually, there's the same thing with people that run the office of president. There's going to be someone who will not like you, no matter how. And you can be good, you can be nice, you can be smart. Doesn't mean that people will not still find, a problem. So that's why I'm saying if you center it all on yourself, then that's a good thing. That's a great thing. And certainly it says that you can get to the point where you're not stuck on that. You may be stuck, but it may be on other things. And we may have multiple things to be stuck on. But today was a good day. And as I said, every day I get up and I try to prepare the night before, which probably makes me be 2 and 3 days ahead of this quarantine class I just started, that I used to do face to face. But I'm enjoying the fact that you all can come and spend this time in this online Facebook Live space with me, and I love it. It's really been rewarding for me. And I'm going to tell you, over the weekend I got a chance to finish up a new the web. It's a Facebook page for the new book that I just sent to the folks, and I'm excited about it. So it should be up on Amazon probably within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I will announce that because I'm working. I'm working on me. I'm working on things I can control. I'm working on the gravity, the leverage, the scales, all those things that say I'm pulling it back in. Things that you gave up, I'm telling you to bring them back home. Even the little thing that goes around, I think it's called a Roomba or whatever it is, where it'll go and sweep your floor and everything and then go back to its own spot. That's what I want you to do. Figure out all the things that you can really cover and then come back. Get yourself, what I call girded up again for the next thing that you have to address. But address the issues that you have. Set your goals. Make every attempt to meet goals. Look at all your multiple intelligences, and I try to put that in my my feed. And then go to the YouTube channel if you've missed some of these before. My new YouTube channel. This is my 26th. I can't even believe I've done that just off of a challenge. So sometimes take the challenge. If somebody challenges you, take the challenge and see what the challenge makes in terms of a difference. And so it made a difference in me, which hopefully will make a difference in you coming to listen to all of these, and certainly going to the YouTube channel and figuring out that it's real for me. And this is definitely real. I want you to have a wonderful day, a wonderful afternoon, and let it be that you've set a goal or goals and you work on reaching them. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for visiting with me this time. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.